In a world obsessed with charisma and performance, it's easy to overlook the quiet strength that truly sustains great leadership. Character. Flashy presentations, persuasive speech, and strategic brilliance may open doors, but they don't keep them open. What holds influence in place over the long haul is the inner framework of a person. Their values, integrity, and ability to stand firm when tested. We've all seen the headlines, leaders who rose quickly and fell even faster, not because they lacked vision, but because they compromised on principle. These collapses serve as painful reminders that talent can take you where only character can keep you. Real leadership begins long before a person is given a title. It starts in the choices made when no one is watching, in the discipline to do what's right, even when it's inconvenient, and in the courage to remain truthful when dishonesty would be more profitable. People may initially follow because of a leader's skills or charm, but they stay or walk away because of that leader's character. It's not about perfection, it's about consistency. The kind of consistency that builds trust, inspires loyalty, and creates environments where others can flourish. Character isn't something that can be faked for long. Sooner or later, pressure exposes who we truly are. That's why leadership rooted in character is unshakable. It doesn't bend under scrutiny, it doesn't crumble under stress, and it doesn't rely on appearances to gain respect. In fact, the most powerful leaders are often the most grounded, not because they've mastered every tactic, but because they've mastered themselves. In times of uncertainty, when everything else is unstable, it is the leader's character that becomes a guiding light. And in that light, others find not just direction, but hope. Leadership has always been one of the most discussed and admired qualities in human society. We look to leaders for vision, direction, and hope, whether in families, businesses, communities, or nations. Yet, despite the countless books, seminars, and courses available on how to lead effectively, many leaders still stumble and fall, leaving behind broken trust and disappointed followers. What makes this failure even more troubling is that it often has little to do with a lack of talent, intelligence, or opportunity. More often than not, the missing piece is character. While skills and knowledge may help a leader rise to prominence, it is character that determines whether they can withstand the pressures and temptations that come with influence and authority. Throughout history, people have been drawn to those who could speak well, plan effectively, and deliver impressive results. We naturally admire charisma and competence. However, when scandals break or secrets come to light, we are reminded in painful ways that charm and brilliance alone are not enough to sustain true leadership. Character is the hidden foundation beneath every trustworthy leader. It is the invisible anchor that holds leaders steady when storms come and when choices must be made that test personal convictions. Though many aspiring leaders focus all their energy on perfecting external qualities, appearance, eloquence, and clever tactics, believing these will secure their success. But time has proven again and again that these qualities, though valuable, are not sufficient on their own. The world has seen too many talented individuals with brilliant minds lose everything because they failed to cultivate an inner moral compass. The fallout from these failures can be devastating, affecting families, communities, companies, and sometimes even entire nations. Character is not a trait one is simply born with. It is built over time, shaped by repeated choices and reinforced by consistent habits. It grows in moments of quiet decision-making, when no one is watching and when cutting corners seems harmless. It develops in the daily practice of honesty, responsibility, humility, and respect for others. These small, unseen acts accumulate, forming a sturdy core that can bear the weight of leadership when greater responsibilities come. True leadership invites scrutiny and demands accountability. Without strong character, a leader's influence becomes fragile, vulnerable to corruption and scandal. With it, leadership becomes authentic, resilient, and inspiring. The world does not just need more leaders, it needs more leaders of integrity, whose character earns trust and whose example invites others to lead with the same unwavering commitment to doing what is right, no matter the cost. One of the most significant challenges facing leadership today is the widening gap between competence and character. In every sphere of influence, politics, business, education, religion, and even within families, we are seeing leaders rise to positions of power based on their abilities, only to fall because of ethical failure. This pattern has become alarmingly common. Individuals with exceptional intelligence, creativity, and vision are often elevated quickly, but without a solid moral foundation, their leadership crumbles when faced with pressure, temptation, or adversity. The consequences of this gap are not just personal, they ripple outward, affecting teams, institutions, and communities in lasting and damaging ways. The modern world tends to value results over process. Performance is rewarded more than integrity. As a result, many leaders feel immense pressure to deliver outcomes at any cost, sometimes sacrificing honesty, humility, or fairness in the process. In such environments, shortcuts become tempting and ethical standards are often treated as optional rather than essential. When the focus is solely on what a leader can do rather than who they are, character is neglected. And that neglect becomes the breeding ground for future failure. The sad reality is that many of today's leadership crises could have been prevented if character had been prioritized as much as competence. This issue is compounded by the fact that society often celebrates the visible aspects of leadership, confidence, communication skills, strategic thinking, while ignoring the quiet internal work of building character. Young leaders in particular are frequently mentored in professional skills, but rarely guided in developing personal discipline, emotional maturity, or ethical strength. As a result, many enter leadership roles unprepared for the moral and emotional weight that comes with influence. They may know how to lead meetings, manage teams, or build brands, but they are not equipped to make decisions rooted in principle when faced with real-world dilemmas. Furthermore, in an age of digital media, a leader's failures are no longer private. The smallest misstep can be broadcast globally within moments. This amplifies the need for integrity, consistency, and personal accountability. Without a strong character, leaders become liabilities rather than assets to their organizations. The challenge we face is not a shortage of leaders. It is a shortage of grounded, principled leaders who can endure, inspire, and leave behind a legacy that others can truly respect. The real crisis is not in leadership positions being vacant, but in those positions being filled by individuals who lack the moral backbone to carry them well. Addressing the crisis of character in leadership requires a shift in how we think about what makes someone truly fit to lead. It calls for a conscious effort to develop leaders from the inside out, focusing first on who they are before focusing on what they can do. This shift starts with understanding that character is not a fixed trait, it is a daily practice and a lifelong journey. It is cultivated through consistent choices and reinforced by honest self-reflection and accountability. Leaders who prioritize character are not perfect, but they are committed to growth and to making decisions based on values rather than convenience or self-interest. The process of building character begins with self-awareness. A leader must be willing to confront their own weaknesses and blind spots without defensiveness. This requires humility, a quality often missing in environments that glorify ego and self-promotion. Humble leaders accept feedback, learn from failure, and recognize that integrity is more important than appearance. They understand that their influence is earned over time and can be lost in an instant through a single lapse in judgment. Equally important is the habit of aligning daily actions with core values. This means being honest in small things, keeping promises, and treating people with respect regardless of their position or usefulness. A leader with strong character does not change their standards depending on who is watching. Their principles guide them whether they are behind closed doors or in front of a crowd. Such consistency builds credibility and fosters trust among those they lead. Mentorship also plays a vital role in developing character-driven leadership. Seasoned leaders who model integrity and transparency can pass down not just skills, but the wisdom of how to navigate moral challenges. Organizations can cultivate better leaders by creating cultures where ethical behavior is rewarded and wrongdoing is addressed promptly rather than ignored or excused for the sake of profit or reputation. Furthermore, leaders must be intentional about surrounding themselves with people who hold them accountable. Isolation is dangerous. It breeds pride and poor judgment. By inviting honest voices into their lives, leaders create a safety net that helps them stay grounded. Ultimately, developing character and leadership is not a quick fix. It is a steady commitment to becoming a person of substance, regardless of the benefits or recognition it brings. Leaders who embrace this journey not only strengthen their own effectiveness, but also inspire a culture of trust, loyalty, and resilience within their teams and communities. In this way, the ripple effect of one leader's character can transform entire systems for the better. There comes a pivotal moment in every leader's journey that tests whether all the talk about values and principles is more than just words. This moment rarely announces itself in grand fashion. More often it comes quietly, disguised as a difficult decision, an unexpected setback, or a tempting shortcut that promises quick success. In these moments, a leader's true core is revealed, and the outcome often determines the future of their influence and legacy. Imagine a leader faced with a lucrative deal that could secure financial gain for the company, but requires bending the rules, hiding inconvenient truths, or taking advantage of someone less powerful. The numbers look good on paper. Shareholders would be thrilled. No one might ever find out. Yet, deep down, the leader knows that to proceed would violate the very standards they claim to uphold. At that crossroads, excuses and justifications flood the mind. Everyone does it. It's only this once, or it's for the greater good. But excuses cannot mask the reality that choosing the easier path sacrifices character on the altar of convenience. Choosing to do the right thing in these defining moments rarely feels heroic at the time. It often feels lonely and costly. It might mean losing money, missing out on an opportunity, or facing criticism from those who value results above ethics. But it also means keeping a clear conscience, preserving trust, and demonstrating that true leadership bows neither to greed nor fear. Stories abound of leaders who have stood their ground in such moments, refusing to compromise even when everything to gain or lose was on the line. Some paid a price in the short term, but gained unwavering respect and influence that outlasted any temporary setback. Others who chose the wrong path learned too late that compromised character always demands repayment, often with interest. The key moment, therefore, is not just about one decision. It is about proving to oneself and to others that leadership is built on an unshakable foundation. Followers see and remember these choices. Trust grows stronger when people witness a leader sacrificing personal gain for integrity. They feel safe under such guidance because they know where their leader stands, rain or shine. In the end, these moments forge a reputation that no title, salary, or public praise can buy. They distinguish leaders who are merely ambitious from those who are genuinely trustworthy. It is in these quiet yet defining moments that true leadership is born and solidified for all to see. At the heart of every enduring leader lies a foundation stronger than talent, strategy, or public approval: character. It is the element that holds all other qualities together, turning raw ability into meaningful, lasting influence. In a time when news of leadership scandals and ethical failures are so common, the need for leaders with unshakable integrity is more urgent than ever. The lessons from history and the reality of today both make it clear. Without character, leadership is a fragile structure, beautiful to look at, but destined to collapse under pressure. The greatest leaders are not remembered solely for the profits they made, the followers they gathered, or the empires they built. They are honored because they stood firm when it mattered most. They led with fairness when corruption was easy. They spoke truth when lies were more convenient. They chose the difficult path because it was the right path, even when no one was there to applaud them. In doing so, they earned trust that could not be shaken by rumor or criticism. This kind of leadership does not happen by accident. It demands a lifelong commitment to self-examination and honest correction. It requires learning from mistakes instead of covering them up. It thrives on consistency between words and actions. Leaders with character understand that their behavior writes a story every day, and that story influences everyone watching: employees, partners, clients, families, and community. Organizations that recognize the priceless value of character will invest in nurturing it just as deliberately as they train for skills. They will promote people who demonstrate integrity, not just impressive results. They will create safe spaces for honest dialogue and set standards that apply to everyone, from the boardroom to the break room. In such cultures, trust becomes the norm and misconduct struggles to survive. Every aspiring leader should pause and ask, what do I want to be known for when the titles fade and the applause grows silent? Will I be remembered for cutting corners to win, or for standing firm to do what's right? The answer lies in daily choices, in quiet moments when one could betray trust for personal benefit but refuses to do so. The world is hungry for this caliber of leadership, real, tested, and trustworthy. It does not demand perfection, but calls for unwavering commitment to truth and fairness. Leaders who embrace this calling build a legacy that outlives them, shaping not only their own path, but paving the way for generations who will rise inspired by their example. Now is the time to make a conscious decision about the kind of leader you want to be. Let today mark the moment when you choose to build your leadership on the steady foundation of character rather than the shifting sands of popularity or quick success. Start by looking within and asking yourself hard questions. What values matter most to you? Are they evident in your daily actions, or do they disappear when circumstances get tough? Take an honest inventory of your strengths and weaknesses, not to criticize yourself, but to know where to grow stronger. Commit to being the same person in private that you are in public. Let your words and actions align so that people don't have to wonder which version of you they will encounter. If you make a mistake, and you will, own it quickly, correct it humbly, and learn from it completely. These steps, simple as they sound, separate leaders people merely obey from leaders people trust and willingly follow. Surround yourself with people who challenge you to be better, not just those who flatter you or tell you what you want to hear. Welcome accountability and seek mentors who live out the integrity you admire. If you lead a team, create a culture where honesty, respect, and fairness are not optional, but expected. Reward transparency and stand firm against any temptation to compromise values for short-term gain. Do not wait for a crisis to test your character. Strengthen it daily by practicing small acts of integrity, keeping promises, speaking the truth kindly, and choosing to do what is right even when no one notices. These small choices build an inner core that will hold steady when bigger tests come. True leadership is a lifelong journey, not a single achievement. The influence you build through character will outlast your position, your projects, and even your lifetime. Choose to be the leader whose legacy is defined not just by what was accomplished, but by how it was done. Be the example that proves trustworthy leadership is still possible and desperately needed. Start today. The impact of your decision will reach farther than you can imagine and inspire others to lead with the same unwavering commitment to integrity. Your character is your greatest asset. Protect it, nurture it, and let it lead you forward.